Namaskaram. Janata Party Adhyakshan Dr. Subramanian Swamy ആണ് ഇന്ന് നമ്മോടൊപ്പമുള്ളത്. Welcome Dr. Swamy to India Vision. In your younger days especially, you were really a fireball intellectually and politically. What change has all these years brought to you in your political vision?
Those were years of struggle, in the sense there was emergency and there were arrest warrants and people were being put in jail. So those were days when you needed action. Then over the years, ideology issues, they became important. Whether we should have good relations with China, whether we should have good relations with Israel, or whether we should have socialism or we should have market economy. These became the issues. And now, of course, the main issue is corruption and national unity. And so these naturally call for different kinds of personality.
Yeah, you caught it emergency days. In your in the emergency days,
Yes.
Our generation is really surprising for us to think that you tied everyone's eyes and entered the parliament.
And made a speech, yes.
How do you recollect those days now?
Well, those are days when you had to take risk. You see, basically I wanted to demonstrate Mrs. Gandhi had no control over the country, despite her propaganda to the contrary, that she had total control of the country. So I was abroad campaigning, and one day I decided the only way to teach her a good lesson is to suddenly turn up in India and then enter parliament, make a 1-minute speech and disappear. Because otherwise, what is the use of entering with all the censorship? There's no way people would have known that I had broken the security barrier. So the only way I could break a security barrier is go into parliament, where everybody's sitting there, the press is also sitting in the galleries. So it required little nerves, it required good luck, and so I succeeded.
If it was happened now, you would have acted in the same manner?
Yes, if there's an emergency, I would definitely always act to see that, because democracy is precious, and there's no use living if you're not living in a democratic society. And our people, our forefathers fought to make this a great civilization, and our freedom fighters, they made this into a democracy, and therefore we should not lose that, and I certainly would fight. I'm ready for a fight anytime.
At the beginning, you told me that the situations have changed. Corruption, as you have rightly said, it spread widely
Yes.
in the constitutional institutions and in every levels of the society. So how do you analyze the situation?
But there are still good people in all the sectors of society. Judiciary, you've got very good judges even today. You've got good politicians too. You've got good journalists also. It's not completely rotted. It still can be rescued. And we are seeing that now. For instance, in the court, I'm getting decisions which has raised the hopes of the people that the people who are guilty of the corruption in telecom will all be punished.
From the early 70s, if I'm correct, you have obtained justice or ensured justice through the courts.
Yes.
But do you think that Indian judiciary is at present 100% free of corruption?
Nobody is 100% free. We have to make it 100%, you see. It's not possible that the judiciary will drop from the heavens. They are also our own people coming from the own society. It depends on the social norms at that time. Today there is a consensus, and that's why judges are also acting very tough and so on, because that is the need of the hour. I think what is important is that we have to thank Dr. Ambedkar for producing a constitution where there's plenty of room for an individual to take action in case the government doesn't take action, and which is what I have proved, that you can go to court, you can even become public prosecutor as an ordinary citizen, you can initiate criminal trials by filing complaints and things like that.
But the one who is entrusted to act instead of the government, if he is also moving in the same dirty channels, what we can do too?
Well, he has to fight them, but then they must also know that there's no way they can blackmail him or put him down, or he's vulnerable, or some members of his family can influence him to shut up and sit down. They must, that you have to win, that confidence you have to win, and that for me, because from emergency onwards I've been fighting, and no one has been able to keep me quiet or put me down. So that confidence many people have.
So, Dr. Swamy, how do you view the allegations against former Chief Justice K.G. Balakrishnan and his relatives?
Well, I think these need to be proved because it's a very serious thing. He has occupied a very high office and he presided over a very long tenure as Chief Justice. And these should not be made just like that. And I think, you know, if a charge has come, there must be a machinery to investigate it to his satisfaction and the public satisfaction. And we must come to now, I don't know what these charges, how this problem of family members benefiting from the office of their relatives, this has become an Indian problem, very serious problem. To what extent is the former Chief Justice Balakrishnan guilty? That has to be established by law, and I think we have been, now we must get out of this media forum and go into the legal
It's true,
forum.
it has to be proved. Yet veterans like Justice V.R. Krishna here, they all have come out and they have asked Justice Balakrishnan to break the silence, but he has not yet.
Justice Krishna here has lots of wrong opinions. He has supported the LTT, which was a very foolish thing to do. So I won't go by the opinion of anybody. I want the judicially sustainable way by which this can be proved, not by the opinion of some judge.
True, but there are serious allegations against Justice Balakrishnan.
Yes, there are very serious allegations, no question.
He should break the silence and come out and say, this is my stand. Has he too?
Well, there's nothing he can do. I mean, he should come to a stand before some forum. He can't come to a stand in the media, because then the media will ask him all kinds of questions. There is a procedure there should be a judicial committee. The Chief Justice of India should set up a committee and remove these things. You know, if Mr. Balakrishnan is innocent, he should be protected. If he is guilty, he should be punished.
But he is now chairing the Human Rights Commission.
That's right, yeah.
So he has that moral responsibility, you know. So
that tradition has gone in India, where people used to resign for railway accidents. The railway ministers resigned for railway accidents, like Lal Bahadur Shastri did, Krishnamachari did, T.T. Krishnamachari resigned as finance minister. So those traditions are gone. Now why I should expect only Balakrishnan to observe those standards? The country, nobody is doing it.
So you find some backplace behind these allegations and this media?
I have not studied the allegation, and I have been hearing this even when he was Chief Justice. People used to tell me. Of course, when I appeared before him, I got justice. So except on one issue of Sonia Gandhi, where he was, he didn't say I had no case, but he felt that I should be lenient towards Sonia Gandhi and not press this issue. But otherwise, I found him. I found him. He gave good judgments. So,
that's your opinion. But do you think that Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh has to say out his stand on this issue?
Again, you see, the question is, Manmohan Singh, when he became Prime Minister, everybody knew he was not elected to be Prime Minister. He was, because Sonia Gandhi could not become, there is a legal hitch, and based on my complaint, the President Kalam, could not invite her to form the government. So it was a second best thing for her. She picked a man whom she can control and rely on, and he has behaved that way. So I don't hold him. I mean, I certainly he's not a figure I admire. I certainly like him as an individual, a very decent man, but he's much like the figure in Mahabharata, like Bhishmacharya, who watched Draupadi being stripped, the same way Bharat Mata is being stripped, and this man is watching it, you see, and therefore, like in Mahabharata, Krishna had contempt for.
He is helpless.
He is absolutely, he was never in a position to be his own Prime Minister. To expect him now suddenly to come. If he resigns and goes, what will you get? You will get somebody worse than him, nobody better than him. That Congress party has been reduced to this kind of a situation.
So while following your blogs, you keep attacking, I will say, Sonia Gandhi.
Yes.
Why you keep Sonia as your target?
Well, there's nothing personal in it. After all, you see, Rajiv Gandhi was my dear friend, and he and I together, we were almost like brothers. But she does things which an Indian woman would never do. For example, she sought the forgiveness, the death sentence for Rajiv Gandhi's killers to be removed. And that's not Christian, as some people try to say. For instance, now this Gladys Stain in Orissa has said that we can forgive personally, but we cannot forgive the wrongdoings of a person, and the consequences of those wrongdoings he must suffer. And Rajiv Gandhi's killers, they didn't deserve any mercy. And Sonia Gandhi wrote a letter for them. She sent her daughter to meet them in jail. And these are things which shows that if you don't even have respect for your martyred husband, how can you have respect for the country? But she is very, in my opinion, I'll be frank with you, I don't want to embarrass your channel, but she's a very, very corrupt person, and one day I will prove it.
Written on your blog that in the first case, you have to, some people have to gather who is free from corruption, and they have to prepare a criminal.
Yes, I think time has come to prepare a charge sheet, a petition to seek sanction to prosecute Sonia Gandhi, and I think in the next 4 or 5 months we will have such a petition ready.
So you're going to file a suit against Mrs. Sonia Gandhi?
Not immediately, it'll take 3 or 4 months.
Okay, and what do you think is the future of UP after these 4 years?
UP, there's no hope for Congress. I think, in fact, there's no hope for for Sonia Gandhi and Rahul and all these people. They are not acceptable to the people anymore. They have let down the people, you know.
Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh is helpless, but really the Congress is helpless.
Yes, Congress has been reduced and castrated completely. It's become a very, very weak organization by Sonia Gandhi. She doesn't tolerate anybody. See the people who opposed her, what happened to them, whether she did it or not. Many congressmen think that there is something funny and mysterious about it. Jitendra Prasad, who contested against her for president of the party, Madhurav Scindia, who was an opponent of hers, Rajesh Pilot, who was an opponent of hers, they're all dead under very mysterious circumstances. There's an atmosphere of fear in Congress party. They're afraid to oppose Sonia Gandhi.
So in the next 4 or 5 months you will lead a case?
I will certainly file a petition seeking to prosecute Sonia Gandhi under corruption. I have enough material now.
Yes. Then did you have any special interest in 2G spectrum allocation irregularities? What's really Karunanidhi?
Karunanidhi has also got a big cut, and so Sonia Gandhi got a big cut. Raja has got a small cut, but small enough, small is very big enough, because the amount of money which has been distributed as bribe is very high. I got interested because civil servants came to my house to express anguish that, you know, the way this whole license is being given, the amount of money. He said, and explained to me that, you know, now we all feel disgusted. Those of us who are honest are even so disgusted. It's not a question of resigning, we want to commit suicide. That's how badly they felt. When I studied the whole process of award of the license, I found this as disgusting, and so that's why I took it up.
I have read you said in a television channel interview that the court proceedings against Raja or in Spectrum will ring the death bell.
Death knell,
to Karunanidhi. So is Karunanidhi the real man behind all these things?
Karunanidhi is the man who is protecting this man, and he's behind it. And Raja is also personally involved in members of the family of Karunanidhi. Karunanidhi is past master in corruption. In fact, there was a Supreme Court judge called Sarkaria. He had there was a commission of inquiry appointed into Raja by Indira Gandhi into the corruption of Karunanidhi at that time, 76. And he said that he has made corruption a fine art. In fact, on the contrary, he said it has become a science of corruption for Karunanidhi. Karunanidhi has always been corrupt. He used to pride on corruption. He has, in his, one of the places in an autobiographical note, he has said that he came into politics, he had no money, so he stole his mother's jewels. Now if a man can steal a mother's jewels, he can steal anything.
But the Karnamati family is divided on the issue. Is it some...
Only on the issue of on who's got them, how to deal with a man who has got them all into trouble. Because they know that Raja goes, everybody goes. They are all affected.
So more mysteries are yet to come out in this.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Mostly, see, there is also a question of the national security angle which has not been highlighted very much. These two companies whom Raja favored, Swan and Unitech, they have sold it to two foreign companies, Etisalat and Telenor. Both these companies are, one of them is controlled by Pakistan, the other is controlled by China. Now we are now got Telenor, which is in the name of Uninor here, and Etisalat in the name of Etisalat DB. They are now going to put up towers in our country and all. What is the national security? And it was wrong to have sold it to them, because there is a bar in companies getting licenses to selling it to them. Then you sell it to a foreign company, and that foreign company is controlled by a government which is hostile to you. These are issues which have not come out. There are many issues which have to yet come out.
What do you think the logic behind Kapil Sibal's statement that the revenue loss in this allocation is zero?
He is unfortunately become a kind of a yapping dog for the Congress leadership, particularly Sonia Gandhi, and he seems to have forgotten his law. The law, he was telling me that I cannot apply for sanction by writing to the Prime Minister. Now, I mean, if a man doesn't know these basic elements. Now he says zero. What is the calculation? Let him call me to a debate. Now he says the government has no forum. After I went to Supreme Court and got a censure, he says, well, you see, it is unfair on me. The government has no forum. Opposition has all the forum. He can come to court. The court has given notice to the government to give reply to all the things I have said. Let him come to court and argue. Give up his ministership and put on his gown and come and argue. And we'll teach him a lesson. I am being an economist. I know the calculation. They are very well placed. Very well done. And yet they have not said that this is God's truth. They said that this is one approach to estimate the loss. And it's correct. If there was no loss, then why should Etisalat and Telenor pay 8 times what Swan and Unitech paid to the government and getting the license, if it was worthless?
So it was Congress' hidden agenda behind his statement?
Yes, yes. I think the Congress must have asked him to speak, and he must be trying to impress Sonia Gandhi with street level arguments, but he has cut a very poor figure. He has lost all his reputation. But
the fact is that Kapil Sibal is standing on the same shoes of Raja, and does the Congress fear that Raja will point his fingers to the leaders, including Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, if he's caught?
Certainly. So we have got to, that's why I have written a letter to PM to give a good security to Raja, because he is an embarrassment to many people, and his living will be dangerous for them. So I have written to the Prime Minister that please put him, the safest place for Raja today is jail. He should be sent to jail.
Now coming down to Mullaperiyar issue,
yes.
As a national leader, you should have, or it's expected from you that you will stand for equal justice for all the people irregular of the states. Yeah. But how will you justify your plea on the issue?
Well, first of all, Kerala, my mother originally came from Trichy, although she is a Tamil, but they were all a family of Trichy before my father, who belongs to Madurai, she got married to him. So Kerala is mine. Kerala is the religious place for me, because everything here holy is in Kerala. It's called God's own country. So Kerala is not something which is, I'm not a Tamil. But the fact is that Karunakaran did sign an agreement in which he said, if you repair, I will restore it to 152 feet, the water level. Now you made an agreement. I had gone, Achunanand was the chief minister. I went and met him. And told him, let's not go to court over this, let's settle this matter. But he said, no, we have a very strong case, we'll win court. I went to court, I won the case. Now, after that, when many people said, this is unfair on Kerala and all, I said, first of all, you implement the agreement that you made. You made a promise in 1979. You implement it and then we'll sit down and find out some amicable way by which you feel more secure. But to say that the dam will burst, who are you to say it? I mean, you get some, the Supreme Court got the best experts with the concurrence of the Kerala government. Kerala government was represented in that committee, you see, and they raised some objections in that, but the experts tore down all the objections. And finally the whole matter was heard. It took 7 years to be finished and we won the case. I won the case.
Okay, so it's after only fulfilling this agreement, an amicable solution is possible?
Yes, absolutely. You see, because the court also said if you feel insecure, don't raise it all the way to 152, raise it to 142. And then after some time you can raise it to 152 if you feel secure. So in that period, after it's raised to 142, then I can go and tell the Tamil people also, these Kerala people are our brothers and sisters. And we cannot, let's see if we can find a way by which they also feel safe. But if I go at 136 means that you have surrendered, you see, that is wrong.
Kerala people, we think that if, you asked me who told you that it will burst out if it is rising.
There was no scientific basis for that.
On the other hand, if the people there at Mullaperiyar ask, how you tell that this will not burst out?
See, that way you can have an earthquake and your television studio can collapse tomorrow. Risk in life is normal. So the question is, how much risk are you willing to take? A certain amount of risk you always take in life. When you take an aeroplane and go somewhere, you're taking a risk. When you cross the road, you take a risk. When you take a medicine, which you don't know whether it's been produced with poison or with the compounds that the doctor has prescribed, you're taking a risk. You drink milk, you're taking risk. Risk is normal. Question is that risk for Mullaperiyar bigger than this or not? And there is no evidence for that.
Okay, now coming to the Janata Party,
yeah.
What do you think is relevance and the future of Janata Party in the Indian politics?
Well, first of all, I want to tell the people, I kept my promise that all of us made in Rajghat that we will never leave Janata Party, and I have not left it. All the others have formed different Janata parties, some Janata Dal S, some Bharatiya Janata, some Rashtriya Janata and all that. But I have stuck to that Janata Party. So it doesn't matter whether I'm alone or anything. But over the years I've brought in a lot of new young people, professionally qualified. So now I propose to start contesting elections, and I will, in Kerala this time, I'll definitely put up some candidates on the plank of nationalism and fighting corruption.
And this legislative election, assembly election?
Yes, assembly elections, yes.
Okay, sir.
I will come here campaign also.
So you have come down for that too this time?
No, this time I have come because I am teaching, giving 3 lectures at the CMS on China.
Oh, yes. Okay. Now you started our talk with the hope that even though there is corruption, individuals may arise who will fight against this corruption.
That is what Bhagavad Gita says. You do your duty. You have freedom of action. You do the rewards. I will decide.
But it will take time, sir.
May take time. You don't have an ego about it. You do your duty. That's all I'm doing. People used to ask me the same question, when will the emergency go? I said, I don't know. But I will fight. One day Mrs. Gandhi declared elections and lost the election also. Could I have foreseen that? That is all Lord Krishna, no?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.